I'm Jeff Ward, and the only agenda here is to make you think. If you say, man, Jeff, you think very little of Governor Greg Abbott, I'm going to say, well, that's right, because the version of Greg Abbott you get now, I think, at least for the past few years, this version of Greg Abbott is a 24/7 Republican presidential campaigning machine who seems to think of nothing else, including the people of Texas. I think Greg Abbott has done, the last few years, has done nothing but run for president in the future. He's running a constant shadow campaign, in my mind. I think he's waiting for Donald Trump to leave the stage, whatever form that takes. And he's going to make sure that he's the nominee when Donald Trump is done. All this, in my opinion, here's why I say that. People are going to say, well, Jeff, so what? Everybody campaigns. They're career politicians. It's what they do. What's so wrong with that? You ask, I would say everything is wrong with that. He doesn't make decisions for the people of Texas. He makes decisions for the Abbott for President crusade, and he's been doing it now for a few years, and there are plenty of examples. What he does is he cuts and pastes Fox News talking points, and then he aligns bills, ceremonial, bogus, whatever, it doesn't really matter. He then aligns bills, signs bills to back it up. He's constantly, my opinion, full of hollow promises with a goal, the only goal, of Fox News clickbait. And he's done it again. And it's not surprising again. The most recent example, the screaming about free speech has been going on for some time. And I say this as someone who's in the free speech business. So I'll go to bat for anybody that has a legitimate free speech argument. But the free speech screaming on media platforms has, I think it was started by Donald Trump, but I'm not positive of that. But it's been growing and growing and growing. It's a constant crusade by, frankly, politicians on both sides. And that is, well, we all have a right to the platform. Now, this screaming has been going on for some time. And Mr. Candidate Greg Abbott turns around and then makes the bogus argument. He's on board with this, the screaming that I have a right to that platform. Greg Abbott is on board with this, with the bogus argument. Then he, of course, is a highly trained lawyer, so he knows better. He knows, and he's always known this, that it's a bogus claim. You don't have a right to a media platform. You don't have a right to post your comments. It's not a free speech issue, and Greg Abbott has known it for quite some time, but it doesn't matter because then he's in the campaign mode, which is clickbait mode. And Greg Abbott doesn't care that it's bogus, doesn't care that it's not truly a free speech argument. He cares about the clicks and the mentions, and then he governs that way. The Palestinian protests on the UT campus over the past week is Greg Abbott at his clickbait best, if you want to talk about free speech. Square this one up. The issue isn't about agreeing or disagreeing with the pro-Palestinian protests. You could find it despicable. That's not the issue. It's not really an issue whether the protests got out of hand. They didn't. The issue is the ploy by the governor. Again. Now, I actually wish we had a chance. I wish we would keep it a free speech debate. I wish he didn't hijack the issue with a typical clickbait ploy, because it's a real free speech issue. This is a legitimate debate for once. This is one of the few times that we could start arguing on a free speech issue. But Greg Abbott hijacked it. And you can find the timing and the position of the protest righteous if you want. You can find it disgusting if you want. You're entitled to both. But you should believe the right of those protesters to be on a public school campus in an area designated for free speech. You should believe, away from the politics, you should believe that's sacred. No matter what you think of their cause, you had better defend that part. A public school campus in a designated area. That part is sacred. What any thinking person who believes in free speech shouldn't be okay with, you shouldn't tolerate, and that is the over-the-top, expensive, show of force used by the governor of Texas. Oh, there's a free speech debate in here. It's legitimate. You can go any number of directions. But what is not okay is the ridiculous, over-the-top, expensive show of force used by the governor of Texas. And absolutely, he's doing it on purpose. And on purpose is clickbait on Fox News. Like everything else. Every decision of the last few years. He did it for clicks and optics. Could the protests have gotten out of control? Answer is maybe. Yeah, it's possible. But this is the very same governor who signed a social media censorship bill because he's so concerned about people being heard, he now thinks nothing of sending the government armed for war to scare those who have every right to be heard. You don't have a right to a social media platform, but he argued that. He signed a bill about that. Then he turns around a legitimate free speech issue and a legitimate free speech space, and he sends the government in, and it's armed for war when those people had a right to be heard. We can't even debate free speech issues here because it's all clouded by what the governor is really doing. He wasn't shutting down a public threat. You're not falling for that. Or are you? He was winning Fox News audience points for political purposes. And the pathetic thing is this stuff works, and that's why he keeps doing it. It works. His stay in the lane. Just give them Fox News clickbait works. The show of force by the DPS at the direction of the governor was disgusting. The DPS looked like it was going to war. The same DPS. And what's amazing is that this is not brought up more often. What's amazing is that anyone in the state of Texas would lose sight of the fact that the DPS, bragged about by the governor, the same DPS with the very same director to this day, the same DPS that went in to scare down a bunch of college students or friends or whoever they were in a legitimate free speech issue. They showed up ready for war. That's the same DPS with the same director who was rightly condemned for the negligence of not going to war to stop a shooter in an elementary school in Uvalde, Texas. That can't be lost on that look, that visual, the optics of them looking like they were going to war with a bunch of college students. This was not about the threat of chaos. Stop spinning that. Stop falling for that. This was about the governor showing the Fox News crowd, I can shut them in all caps down. The them, by the way, if you don't know, this is why it's political points. This is why it fits perfectly with the narrative of the last few years for Fox News clicks. Them has extra meaning in this case. Them are the people on campus in Austin, and they represent the present day Republican voter. They represent, these are college educated people in Austin. Them, see, these are extra political points. Scaring them down is even more worthy for the governor's crusade, political crusade, election crusade. This works even better because these are college educated people in Austin, and to a lot of people in the Fox News crowd, they're the devil. You shut them down as extra points. You do that. It doesn't matter if it's all political optics. It doesn't matter if that's political clickbait. You shut them down. They are more important. You know, most of these protests that have taken place around the state, the DPS show of force looks nothing like it did in Austin. And the reason is he knows shutting them down means more in clickbait than anywhere else. The show of force means more. It looks better for his political crusade. More than 50 people were arrested. He bragged about it. He was happy about it. He wanted the credit for that because that works well, right? That's clickbait. This is the same guy bragging about scaring down and arresting people protesting, rightfully or disgusting or whatever it is, rightfully protesting on a public school campus. He's the same guy that bragged about the police response in Uvalde until we learned the truth. Do we know it was terrible? And people died. Then, when we learned the truth, he left it alone and moved on to get clicks on other topics. That's what he does. fact, it seems like it's all he does. Whatever the Fox News focus group wants next, you can bet he'll do it. Whatever that focus group wants next, that's the optic and the sound bites you're going to get.